I wanted this to kind of be a little Q&A because we're kind of full, again, with full transparency. It's kind of like, I feel like we've been covering a lot of topics, all the way incorporating from, the lead generation into the farming, lead generating within your farm. Now we're able to actually do open houses. Yes, super excited about that. So I wanted to at least review with people if y'all wanted. This is going to be an open format. So the scripts practice, I have it as far as the scripts practice mastermind. So if you came here looking for something specific, heads up, I got nothing for you in regards to an agenda. So, but want to at least open this up to see, these are some of the things that I would probably encourage people to do is as we're building out a farm, now that we can do open houses, if y'all want me to run through my open house script, I can do that. I have it documented as well, but obviously I think that there's a good mind-body connection if you can write them down so I can review that with y'all. This can be just an open Q&A, and so while we have people of varying levels of production on here for as long as that they can stick around, I figure we can have an open format. So who wants to chime in and say, Stephen, let's at least address this one topic and we'll keep it organic. Today will just be an organic flow. Nikki.
Can I just say I'm glad we don't have a topic. I was one of the ones that I really like the organic flow that we have in scripts because we're able to do real world reaction to whatever is happening. And this is indicative of that. So of course we didn't know. It's kind of like restaurants, like, hey, you're open now. And they've got to get staff and food and everything else, right?
Yeah.
So, we've been kind of preparing for it, but this will be our first listing that we are switching over to open house. And I don't know how everybody else is doing it, but we are not doing a whole lot different. Mainly also because of the volume of requests. So we don't necessarily need everybody and their brother walking in. We want to make sure that people are qualified. We don't necessarily need Sally next door to see what kind of wallpaper was used and see what they could do in their house. Although we do, because that's of course a potential listing. Yep. So we're kind of going status quo. The only thing that we would be doing differently is more hoo-ha out front, balloons and signs and whatnot. But we decided to do a 3-part process and put a greeter out front. And then Denise and I are going to trade off because we already know the volume. And then once it's an open house and people can walk in, then we want to make sure that we're not losing the engagement that we would normally have with, 1 or 2 people in the house.
So general rules of thumb, right? That as Nikki's kind of talking about it. So let's just flow into the open house format. So I'm going to just share the best practices, and I would love to get other people to chime in. And then I'll even run through the script if that's okay. So the best format is, number 1, to pick an open house in an area that you ideally want to farm, right? So the case in point behind that is that you want your name top of mind all the time. Vinny used this as a perfect example where there was a real life study that was done where it's like, they had mailers for this fictitious agent name, and they asked the people, hey, who's the primary agent in this area? They gave an answer, but then they were doing this fictitious marketing and whatnot. They asked the survey a year later and they were like, oh, this fictitious agent is the predominant agent in the area, right? So there's something behind that repetition of seeing your name over and over and over again. So best practice is to, number 1, pick the open houses, pick the listings that you want to hold open in the farm of your choice. I would recommend that if it's not a listing here at Metro, then you can host any house open. Some people will say, oh, my brokerage won't allow other people. That's BS. They're just an excuse. But you're going to get those on occasion. Just deal with it. But the best practice that I would say is go through, find at least 5 different properties by Wednesday the latest. The reason for that is that it takes about 24 to 48 hours for the open houses to syndicate out to the affiliate websites like Zillow, Redfin, and True, and HomeSnap and all that stuff. So if the agent inputs the open house by Thursday, it's guaranteed to have the advertisement online by Saturday. Okay. So have your open houses, 1, identified in your farm. If there's the listings that are held by other agents, just text, right? Yes, Vinny, thank you. And remind that agent, once you identify that you can do an open house, verify with the agent and ask them as soon as they can to get that into the open house. Good point. Andrea.
I still kind of figuring out the Zoom stuff. Okay, so you're talking about for other listing agents, you would be representing them and their property?
You'd be representing that property, but you're representing yourself.
But I mean, if let's say you were to find a buyer at the open house, somebody who just shows up from the ad, do you get a cut of it, or like, how does that work?
No, that's your buyer. That's your buyer. Okay. Yeah. That's your buyer. Good question, right? Because here's the thing, you're literally representing that property as yourself. So any of those buyers that come through, they are yours. If an agent is going to ask you for a referral fee for those buyers, don't. Even
if it's their listing?
So?
I'm still learning.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm saying so because it's just like, I'm just playing with you here. But at that same point in time, yeah, it's their listing, but they're not the one doing the open house. If they want those buyers, right?
What if the buyer has a realtor?
Well, so then that's that realtor's property, so to speak, right? So that if they're represented and if other agent is bringing them in, that's theirs, don't touch, right? But the people that are coming in, free game, those are yours to represent, right? Do not pay a cut to that listing agent, okay? If they ask, then I would keep on looking for open houses because you don't need to do that. You just don't need to, right? So good questions. I'm glad that we're because it's been a hot second since we've done open houses. So these are just best practices. Yeah, Andrea.
So if you're going to be hosting the open house, even if it's not your listing, you're still like investing in the signs and all of the promotion kind of things. So that's why it's your sale if somebody buys the house that you're showing.
100%. Dig in the cat, Kevin. Yeah, so 100%. So you're taking on the marketing pieces from like if you plan on door knocking with the little postcards, the little flyers and stuff like that. Best practice for that, 10 doors to the left, 10 doors to the right, 20 across the street. Okay, so 10, 10, 20. Ironically, how many neighbors would that be that you would roughly be contacting? 10, 10, 20.
40.
Okay, so roughly how many leads can you expect from that?
I'm bad at math.
At least one.
At
Maybe
least
two.
One to two, right? And if these are the neighbors, so here's your script is very simple, right? Your script is very simple. Hey, my name is Steven. I just wanted to share some information with the neighbors, letting you know that I'm hosting an open house in case you have, by chance, do you have any friends or family members that might be interested in moving into the area? Nope. Okay. Well, do you have any interest in swinging by? Would love to get your opinion on the property, right? It's just an invite, guys. All right. Your first touch, just an invite. If you don't want to door knock, if you don't want to drop off those postcards, fine. You can call. Again, just call around, circle dial. It's the same thing. Hey, Andrea, this is Steven, Keller Williams. I'm hosting an open house just down your street and wanted to do a courtesy check-in to see if you had any friends or family members that would be interested in swinging by. Maybe they're interested in moving to the area. No? Okay, fair enough. Hey, well, would you have any interest in swinging by? I'd love to get to know the neighbors, right? This is just a way to get the neighbors to get your name out there, right? So when they see your signs, you've talked to them, they've put a name to your face. Is that right? Yep, they put a face to a name. So it's that constant recognition getting out there. You're just inviting them. At that actual open house, yes, Andrea.
So how elaborate can open houses be? I mean, are they events?
You're so sweet. I love the questions. Keep it simple.
Okay.
Yeah, keep it simple. Keep it simple because again, like if you're the thing that Vinny.
I think you're putting a governor on her idea. I mean, I would say yes, they can be events. I mean,
I stand corrected.
I mean, so you have to remember that the way that San Diego realtors do open houses or do business is different than maybe agents in like Oklahoma. right?
How's that?
Well, I mean, so what I've learned over time is that we all have kind of a governor of how much business is good business, right? If you're a average agent in a lower dollar amount area, right? A generic realtor, a good realtor, maybe he's doing 80 deals a year, right? If you're probably in like Beverly Hills, an average good realtor is probably doing 15 deals or 10 deals. I don't know, somewhere on there, right? In San Diego, it's 20, 30, or maybe 40 or something like that, right? So we're all putting governors on where we think we should cap out at, what we should do, right? So I was mind blown maybe a couple years back when I talked to a realtor in the Midwest. He was telling me how he did the open house, and he basically said it's an event. I mean, he has 3 different people there. He has himself, his buyer's agent, and his lender there.
Yep.
And as soon as someone walks into the property, right, especially if they don't have a realtor, he first gets them with their lender to get them pre-approved, right? Then he gets them connected with his buyer's agent, and he does like a whole consultation with the guy. And if that property doesn't work out for him, they set up appointments at that showing right there. It was something crazy. I was like, well, I've never heard anyone locally do something like that, right? And that's just how our mind is run. So be careful to put a governor on what you're thinking. If it works for you, it works for you.
Thank you. That's actually really good point, because I both saw Nikki and Vinny go like, Steven, what are you doing? Come on, you're supposed to foster this creativity. So I'm sorry that I was a Debbie Downer.
We have taco trucks and clowns, so I'm just gonna ask that. I know we really do have clowns. We have clowns to do little balloon animals for kids at times if it's in a high child neighborhood. And I put in the chat there, I said I have a magic pill for open houses. Do you want to know? So Kevin King, to answer your question, the magic pill is video. And that video is done before the open house in my little suit with the house behind me. And it just says, hey, just wanted to thank you so much for stopping by. It was a pleasure meeting you. And while you're out and about today, if there's anything else that you'd like to see but can't get into, please feel free to drop us a call. We'll be happy to give you some information on that.
Yep.
That is how I got my first sale at Metro, doing an open house for Maria.
There you go. There you go. So it's like, and keep that in mind, guys, because this is before the open house and all the pressure that comes from doing those open houses. I love that idea. I've always been a big advocate of those videos, because that was something that, and this is just a little tidbit, right? Because some people, and I encourage a sign-in sheet. Again, I'm going to walk you through the flow that it talks about, like the sign-in process, everything like that. But just a little tip is that on the back of each sheet, when I would have the sign-in sheet, I would put little stars next to their name if I had a really good conversation. So I would actually have a couple different videos, one that was generic in case like I didn't really have a conversation with that person. It was just generic, you know, hey, this is Steven, just wanted to say thank you so much for swinging by the open house. You know, I didn't get a chance to really talk in depth about what you're looking for, but if you do want to know about properties in this area that are coming soon in the next upcoming weeks or months, just let me know and I'd be happy to share that information with you, right? So something just that simple. It doesn't have to be, you know, Steven, what's that script again? Thank them, gratitude, offer off markets, right? Simple. Vinny.
Something that it took me a while to learn, or a little while, but it's better to have a less quality leads than a lot of leads, right? So sometimes you get overwhelmed because you get an influx, especially in this climate. You do open house, you probably get a lot of people coming through. But if you have a quality conversation going on and you can dive deeper into that person and get more information about that person you're talking to, that's going to be a stronger connection, a stronger lead than getting a little bit of information from them and then going to the next person, the next person, next person, next person, next person. I mean,
those are, and that's the reason why for it, like on the back of the sheet, right, you have the stars next to them. I'm going to be a little bit more specific rather than a, hey, thanks for coming to the open house. It was great seeing you. Weren't able to really connect, but would love to offer some off markets in case you want to know some in the area. Great. But if it's more of a custom video, if I put a star next to Kevin's name, I'll be like, Kevin, hey man, just wanted to say thank you so much. It was great to catch up with you. I know I caught you after going to the gym, so you're in a rush, but even still wanted to say thank you. It was great spending that time with you. And I've got some, you know, if you want me to keep you in the loop with some coming soons and off markets and whatnot, just let me know. I'd be more than happy to keep you up to speed, right? But that video text, like it's that more custom creative version of it, is that it keeps it, when I say simple, is that it's the connection that's actually going to move those conversations forward, right? So another little pro tip, again, I'm talking to everybody as if you've never done an open house, because I'm just pretending like you never have, because it's been like forever since we've been able to, right? So another thing is that whenever you do your Google, whenever you're doing the mapping, right, for that property, think of it from this perspective. Not a lot of people do this, but I think that it's one of the things that are not talked about enough. The main important thing is that as you're getting the Google instructions how to get there, follow that track, right? And just kind of picture where you're going to put your open house signs. But here's the thing. When you are setting up an open house, typically what people will do is that they will set up signs, right? And they'll have people they'll just kind of set them up either, early in the day. I don't care for that approach, because if someone's following that sign and it goes to an uneventful open house or an open house that's not even there yet, I hate that approach. Okay, that's just me. That's just me. Some people like that, great. But otherwise, I think that if you're doing it, set it up about quite a bit before the open house, but go to the property first. Okay, turn on all the lights, open up all the windows, right? Open up the windows, get a nice cross breeze going through. I would always have a little bottle of Fabuloso, the lavender one that smells really nice, little capfuls, pour those into the bathroom and the kitchen sinks, right? So you get that cross breeze. It's not so overwhelming, it's not overpowering, but it's a nice light scent. Citrus is something that not overpowering, or fresh linen if you are going for a scent. Those fresh linens, anything that's really fresh in there. Again, if you open up the windows, get a cross breeze, pour those little capfuls in just the kitchen sinks, turn on the water, and it gets a nice fresh breeze going on. Andrea.
What about baking cookies?
Yeah, well, you got Nikki's heart right there, right? With the seller's permission, right? With the seller's permission, I like that idea of baking the cookies, right? Even still, if you were to get some cookies, microwave them, right? Nikki was saying microwave a Hershey Kiss, it'll get that smell. Anything going to be inviting. These are little tips and tricks, right? Any pizza and beer, 100%. You want it to smell like shame and salt in that area. So, hey, depending on the neighborhood, maybe they're into that. So then what you do is you have these fresh smells. So you get the property ready first. Then you lock it up. You go back and you set up the open house signs. Think of it like the Pied Piper effect, okay? People have a tendency to do it from the house working backwards. Don't. You start at the house, turn on all the lights, get the house ready. Close it down, lock it up, go back to the entrance, and you set up as many open house signs as you can that will direct a person every through. The last open house that I did was so much fun because I literally had 4 cars following me to the place because I'm setting out the open house signs and whatnot. People are like, oh, hey, you setting up? I'm like, yeah, dumbass. Yeah, that's what I'm doing, and they're like, oh, okay, cool. And they're just trucking along. And then more people are like doing this whole thing. And then some of the other people were like, oh, well, let's do this. I literally felt like I was just playing this little, flute, and people were just following me to that open house. But guess what? As soon as you open it up, boom, it is ready to go. Okay. So do that prior to the open house. Now, again, the setup for the open house is critical.
Stephen, do you say you open all the windows? Do you leave the windows open while you set up the signs, or you close them?
If the weather's nice, if the weather's nice, because I'm only gone for maybe 5-10 minutes max, if you have some concerns, if it's a less than ideal neighborhood, then I would not put the safety, in jeopardy. But otherwise, what I'm thinking is that if you're to leave the windows open a partial way, again, you just want that cross breeze, because the last thing that you want is a stale smell, right? Sometimes if people don't have carpets and stuff like that, you just get that smell, So I'd say use your discretion for that.
Okay.
Yeah. So once you're going there, you set it up. Andrea.
So I've never done an open house, but okay, you're saying like it's crazy right now. If you have a feeling like, I don't know if you RSVP ahead of time or, if you just know it's going to be busy,
Yeah.
Isn't it a good idea to like to have a helper who can may not be
Yeah.
licensed, but somebody who can help you just with the flow?
It's a lender, right? And the reason for that is because, hey, Eddie, if you have a lender with you, especially in larger properties, one, for safety, okay?
Right.
Another little tip, ladies and gentlemen, do not ever go into a room first, ever. Do never, ever, ever have the client between you and the door, okay? Just a tip. Never have the person, that client, between you and the door, okay? Your safety comes first. I do not mean to scare anybody, but there's so many times in which I've seen people be like, oh, come on, follow me. And I'm like, nope, nope. You keep them near eye shot every single time. So when you're doing this guided tour, you gesture for them, open-handed, polite, right? You gesture for them to go into the room, and you can stand in the doorway or just outside the doorway. You never want them between you and the door. Am I clear?
Mm-hmm.
That's just for safety, okay? So it also helps to have that lender there on site, one, because it helps keep tabs on where everybody is in the property. Two, they can answer any questions in regards to the lending process, anything like that. You can go as elaborate as you'd like with helpers. If you do downtown open houses, you definitely need to have a helper that's just kind of helping bring people in through the door.
Yeah,
you know?
that's what I'm talking about. Like somebody who will maybe do the introductions to the real estate agent when they're able to talk to that person, if they're already talking to somebody else, and just kind of preparing them, like getting them excited about seeing the house and maybe giving them a tour.
Sure.
Hey,
Yeah. However you want to structure it, right? Run with that creativity. Vinny.
I mean, and I know Nikki just put it there that she had newer agents help her out. I mean, for me, I've always looked at it. If you bring on a new agent, you're going to split the leads, right? So if they're going to put their weight in it, then it makes it sense for you. I've, for at least myself, found it better to find other open houses in the community, right, that are close by, and have them basically do open houses at the same time, right? And so then you're both prospecting for people in that area, and then sending business, people that you didn't connect with, right? Send them over to the other open house, people they didn't connect with, send them to your open house. And now you're building a lot more traction, but you have your own ability to be your own up.
Yep.
So.
Another thing is always have a list. Now, I call it the neglected listings. They're not too common nowadays, but basically what I would do is always have a list of, one, the other open houses in the area, like Vinny was talking about. So you're known as that area expert. Pre-plot on a map. And here's another nugget. Only have one copy. Do not give out your copy. Just have one piece of paper. And here's what I'd say. Go to My Plus Leads. Okay. And you can plot all of the expireds and FSBOs for the past 6 months in that area. Those are your off-market lists. Okay. So you want to take a little snapshot of that screen. So you want to be able to have, right, this, your setup, all the information about the neighborhood. The snapshot, you can take that from your phone, the Keller Williams app, just talking about what's the area, what are the stats in that area. You've got that map with the off markets. Some people in the past have had cute little whiteboards. I can see Paul all over this with the mimosas, right? You have the little blackboard and you have the pretty coloring and stuff like that, just saying, asking about off markets. And then you have like one posted little map, on there, and it just has the plot points without the addresses. Those are the off markets. You only have that one copy, but also have the neglected listings, meaning these are the listings that have been on the market for more than 14 days. The reason why I say to have a list of those is because sometimes when people are just kind of like poking around, I always like to share with people and just saying, hey, like, here's something else that you might want to consider. Here are some listings that may not be getting the love as some new listings are getting. That means that you have a little bit more room for negotiation. And here's the thing, if you like this one has a little bit more of an outdated kitchen. However, with a little bit of love, you can customize this and make this your own. So what are your thoughts on that? Are you looking for something more turnkey, or are you looking for something that you can kind of modify and adjust? You see how those are basically talking points to get you moving forward? Andrea, yes, you want to be able to send that information electronically, okay, with your information, but that also ensures that you get their contact information. So the script that I'm about to share with you is, I'm not saying this is the only open house script to use. This is just the one that I favor because I always set a minimum of 1 appointment for every open house that I've ever done. And this is the script, okay? First of all, when people are walking up, hey, welcome. I step in to shake their hand. If y'all are comfortable with that, lean in to shake their hand, shake it, take 2 steps back. It shows this is my territory. You're in my arena, but I'm going to respect your space. Okay, step forward. Hi, welcome. My name's Steven. What brings you out today? Just checking it out, just doing this. So again, greet. What brings you out today? Generic answer. Excellent. Second question. Would you like the guided tour? Or did you just want to look around for yourself? 9 times out of 10, they say, I just want to look around for myself. Third question. Okay, sounds good. Now, do you promise me that before you leave, you'll give me some feedback for the sellers? So 1, greet. 2, guided tour, question mark. For this is the shorthand, right? 3, feedback, question mark. Let them roam about, do their thing. I have not forgotten the sign-in sheet. I'm getting to that. Let them walk around, they come back. What'd you think? 4th question, get feedback. Oh, it's this, it's that, blah, blah, blah. Even if they say, it's fantastic, I want to make an offer right now. Beautiful, love it. Oh, the windows are a little bit too big. Oh, it's too personable. I hate the smell of cookies. I would have preferred salt and shame. Okay, fair enough. Well, hey, let me ask you something. How are you currently finding properties? They'll give a generic answer. Oh, I'm just looking online. Oh, my agent is sending me them. Ignore for now. Bear with me. All compliant people are like, oh, bear with me, breathe. Okay. How are you finding properties right now? Whatever they say. 6. It's a great start. Would it be helpful to have off markets to complement what you're seeing online? Here's another pro tip. Step 7. You offer it to them by saying, because when you're like, hey, would it be helpful if you had off markets to, complement your search? Oh, well, I'm still a ways away. So you objection handle, right? So if the person's like, oh, I'm still a ways away. Oh, I don't really see the necessity behind that. Be like, okay, no. I totally get that, right? But isn't it helpful? Because even if you're 6 months out, there might be sellers that are 6 months out. Wouldn't you want that kind of information, to give you a competitive edge? They're going to more often than not just agree, okay? Here's what's so important. You have a notepad and pen, okay? When you ask them this question, you do not look at them. It creates tension. So I'd say, so here's how you can see the flow. Here's the flow up to this point. Hi, welcome. What brings you in today? Oh, beautiful. Excellent. Well, hey, would you like the guided tour or did you want to look around for yourself? Excellent. Hey, but before you leave, can you just promise me to give me your feedback for the sellers? Perfect. Hey, thank you so much for that. Well, okay, yeah, guided tour, look around for yourself. Great. Can you promise me to give you your feedback? Awesome. So what'd you think? Nice. Oh, fantastic. Got it. Well, how are you finding properties right now? Interesting. Okay. Well, would it be helpful if you had some off markets to complement your online search? No. I know you're still a ways away, but there might be sellers that match your time frame as well. Would it be helpful to have that information to give you a competitive edge? Excellent. So what's the best way to get that information to you? You look down and do not look up, and you shut up. What's the best way to get that information to you? And you wait. They'll buckle. They'll say, you can send it to my email. Perfect. What is that? And you stay looking down. Perfect. And what is that? Excellent. And your phone number just to confirm receipt. You keep looking down because that creates so much tension that they're going to feel compelled. I don't know what it is. maybe it's the tension. But when you're asking them that question, you look down, you don't look up, okay? When you do look up, after you get their contact information, great, so what's the best way that I can get that information to you? Excellent, thank you. And then your phone number just to confirm receipt. Perfect, perfect. Now, did you want all of the off markets all the way from Oceanside down to Imperial Beach, or did you want a specific range? Well, no, I want probably this, that. Okay, excellent. All right, cool. You're making notes. Okay, excellent. Well, you know, there's so much more that goes into this search. You know, what are your thoughts on this? What if we were to get together for like 15, 30 minutes, grab a cup of coffee so we can modify the search specifically so you're only getting the open house, so you're only getting those properties that match your criteria. That's when you lean in for the appointment. Okay. Now, the reason that it's so important, I will send you all, and I'll post it on the Facebook page, I'll send you the documented version of this, but I wanted y'all to write it down in this general format because there's a few things on the script that I haven't modified in a little bit. This is the clear-cut version that I'm sharing with y'all now. And the reason that I want y'all to really memorize this so well, and I mean memorize, I really mean memorize, because when open houses, when you're getting people coming through, you have to be able to be on your A game, right? Hi, welcome. What brings you in today? Fantastic. Hey, well, you know, would you like the guided tour? Take a look around for yourself. Beautiful. Hey, thank you so much. Hey, before you leave, let me grab your feedback. Excellent. What'd you think? Nice. Well, how are you finding properties right now? Oh, that's a good start. Well, would it be helpful to have off markets? Actually, hey, welcome. Come on in. Did you want the guided tour or did you want to look around for yourself? Excellent. Well, just give me your feedback before you leave, okay? Excellent. All right. So now, did you want, what's the best way to get that off-market information to you? Excellent. All right. Now, did you want everything from Imperial Beach all the way up to Carlsbad? Or, oh, hey, welcome. What brings you in today? Hey, come on in. I'll be with you in just a hot second. Do you see the reason why I'm saying that you need to have this memorized? Okay. So when I share that structure with you, memorize it as if you're an actor or an actress playing a role, to where nobody can disrupt that flow. That is how you're able to maintain people coming in and you're having a steady flow. But the reason why, again, some people want to use the sign-in sheet. I've never liked that because 9 times out of 10 people would lie. And I would see something on there like Nikki@IHateRealtors.com. So, you know, and not only that, but sometimes people would put fictitious information. And then if they still follow the script, and they're like, oh, Steven, they're giving me fake information. I always will call them on it. I'm like, oh, they're giving you false information? Got it. Probably because you had a sign-in sheet and you didn't follow the script, did you? Well, yeah, I had a sign-in sheet because I wanted them to sign in at the door. And I said, let me guess. You asked them and say, great. So is your information over there? Is that the best way to send you the information? They're not going to correct themselves. They're not going to give you their correct information unless they know what value is going to come out of it. You see what I mean? So that's the reason why the script is structured that way. So if you're able to lean in and offer the value and saying, hey, look, you know, so how are you finding properties right now? Got it. That's a good start. Well, would it be helpful to have off markets? What's the best way to get that information to you? Now I have your contact information, right? That's what's so important. Caveat. If a person says, oh, I'm getting properties from my agent, stick to the script with one slight tweak. Oh, fantastic. Well, are they also sending you off markets? They are. More information couldn't hurt, could it? Not at all. Perfect. What's the best way to get this information to you? Beautiful. After you get their contact information, then you say, now let me ask you something. Now, Kevin, are you working exclusively with that agent? You know, did you sign anything saying that you can't work with anybody else? No? Well, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, did you want all the off markets all the way from Imperial Beach all the way up to Carlsbad?
Sure.
Okay, fantastic. So anything from 100,000 to 20 million?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so is that really your range? Or I mean, what are you kind of going for here? Are you just kind of poking around?
Just poking around right now.
Beautiful. But if you were to find something that were to be really ideal, is there a price point that you would want to really consider and lean into?
Oh, around the 8 to 9 range.
8 to 9 range. Got it. And then no area specifically, or I mean, kind of like, are you going for more of the vibe, or what are you looking for in the new property?
Yeah, location would be ideal.
Location, got it, got it. Well, you know, Kevin, I really would like to spend a little bit more time with you because this is, you know, an important part of your home search process. What are your thoughts on this, man? We can grab, you know, a cup of coffee or some cocktails, you know, 15 to 30-minute conversation just to kind of get a little idea of what you're looking for. I can cater the off-market search to you appropriately. How does that sound?
Sounds like a winner to me.
Okay, perfect. And I set the appointment. So then, of course, I follow up with the text. Thank you so much. Looking forward to this, right? So what are y'all taking away from this? What questions y'all have about that flow?
So with, obviously I've never done a open house, but so with the new regulations, and I'm assuming there's only so many allowed into the homes at one time, does this not allow it to be a little bit more personal? That way you've not got 3 or 4 different couples or families or households coming in. So
it's going to depend on how you set up that open house. Technically, I think that there's maybe a maximum restriction on how many people can be in the household, right? So maybe if you have like 3 or 4 people at a time max, depending on obviously the size of the property, if it's a little studio, one couple, you know, one group at a time. But I mean, the main thing is that kind of like setting up that workflow is that you want to be at that front door to greet those people, right? You always want to keep them in earshot, but they have to come by you and they have to walk past you to leave. I've seen too many agents set up their station in the kitchen, which is fine, right? But you know, people can sneak out, right? Depending on how it's placed. So another little pro tip, I would strongly encourage you guys to get a little card table, right? Something from Costco. It's like 30 bucks, but on that setup stand, that's where you can have your nice presentation, okay? You have the little acrylic stands. You can get them at Office Depot for like $2. Do your acrylic stands with, you know, coming soons in the area or off markets in the area with just the map, right? People are going to want to take pictures of it, right? That's where you can offer them. Another little tidbit, I got this from, I can't remember her name, but it worked like magic. I always had the Ghirardelli individually wrapped chocolates rather than candy that they can grab and go, because when people are looking at my sign and they look at your sign, when you have, you know, coming soons, you have this cute little whiteboard, right? If you want to make a presentation of it, you know, make it all nice and have, you know, coming soons, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, normal heights, under 650, generic but specific, right? 1-bedroom, 1-bath, gas lamp, you know, 650, amazing views, things, you know, under this amount, right? People are going to stop and they're going to grab those little chocolates, and guess what they're doing? They're unwrapping them, they're looking. That's more time for you to be social. That's more time for you to talk to them, right? So little tricks to be able to get those people to engage with you. Have little bottles of water, individually wrapped chocolates. Back in the day, you know, I would love to have cookies, but again, I don't know if, you know, if you have them individually wrapped and stuff like that, if that might be a little bit different. But I figure just if people are still concerned about sanitation, because that is still a requirement, might want to just have the individual water bottles, individual chocolates that are individually wrapped, right? Just for sanitation. But the main thing here that we're really talking about is that the open house is honestly the smallest portion of what you're really doing. That's really the smallest portion. The best timeframes that I've noticed, if you're doing them on the weekdays, are twilight open houses. Now that it's still bright during the day, you can go until 6 o'clock, right? If it's around a school zone, I would do it from 3 to 6, right? Time it right around the time in which, you know, child pickup is. If you're doing it on the weekends, I always love doing 10 to 2. That was my favorite time, 10 to 2 on Saturdays. Sundays, same thing. Saturdays, if you want to do an extended open house, 9 to noon, 1 to 4. I used to do those as well, right? Do the double down open houses. So basically, whenever you're kind of picking the time, also take a consideration to look in the area. You want something with heavy traffic. You want to be able to have as many signs as possible, okay? If anything, if you're being a little bit budget conscious, what I would strongly recommend is only have maybe about 3 or 4 branded signs in which, you know, you do the, you know, open house by Steve and Jack headshot, those maybe just the ones close to the property, but all the ones outside, don't be overly concerned about, I have to have my face on it, I have to have this, I have to have this. No, you don't. It's directional, right? If there's an opportunity to be cheap there, okay? Just get those directionals. Right now, not many people are doing these open houses, so you want to hop on it as quickly as possible, right? We're just now starting to roll it out. A lot of people don't want to do open houses anymore, but they're still ripe for the picking. But here's the reason why I say that the open house itself is just the smallest portion. The most important piece is to either door knock with a flyer, 10, 10, 20, just to invite them, okay? Then what you do is, during the open house, do everything that we just talked about. Right after the open house, you send those video text messages, okay? Right after the open house. Thank you so much. Right in front of that property, waving to them so they see that it's customized to them, okay? Then the following week, I would say Tuesday, okay? If let's say you did it on a Saturday, Sunday, or on a Saturday, I don't condone working on Sundays, but that you do you, boo-boo, is that if you do it on Saturday, I would circle back around with all the neighbors on Tuesday, okay? Hey, it's Steve and Jack. I invited you to the open house just this past weekend. Just wanted to circle around to let you know that we had a crazy amount of people interested in the area. And it begs the question, this wasn't the perfect house for them, but they are interested in the neighborhood. Is there any amount that they would need to offer for you to consider selling? See how that works? What amount would it take? Kevin, hey man, it's Steve and Jack, just circling back around with you. Wanted to let you know that the open house went incredibly well. Thank you for your support. Did you get a chance to, I don't think that I saw you there. Did you get a chance to swing by? No? Oh, okay, well, it's all good. Sorry I missed you, but there's a lot of people that came through and, this house wasn't right for them, but they fell in love with the neighborhood. It begs the question, man, what would someone need to offer for you to consider selling? So what are y'all taking away from this? What questions do y'all have, whether it be about the setup of the open house, the follow-up from that open house? What are y'all taking away, or what questions do y'all have?
I have a question, Stephen.
Yes, my dear.
We went over this in our team meeting with Coach K, and he mentioned something about, because the rules are pretty strict, to have like a front entry and a back entry. Like, so there's a flow through the house, so people aren't, going in like a family and then wandering around or whatever, and then coming back out as other people are coming in. Do you, you could do that. I would, if I did it, I'd ask one of my teammates or somebody, another agent, to double up with me and have a front table and a back table. But do you think that's overkill, or?
I don't want to undermine what Carl is suggesting. To each their own, right? That's what I will say respectfully, is that, everybody has their own. I happen to understand where he's coming from, and I respect if that's his model. I don't agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah, and no, I'm not right nor wrong. He's not right nor wrong, right? It's just whatever works for you, whatever works for you. Maybe it's because I'm more of a control freak than Carl, So it's just like, I want to make sure that, again, like, as if we didn't, I established this is my territory, right? So you're going to walk by me one way or another. You're not going to slip out the back door. Say with a smile.
Question.
Yeah.
So, sign-in sheet or no sign-in sheet?
So, yes. And I say that only because even if I have one, I'm ignoring it. Because think about the script, right? I'm going to have the sign-in sheet, and if people are looking at it, and depending on how you do it, this is where you get a little bit of creativity, right? Is that maybe you have to log people's information, right? For compliance reasons, right? For COVID, we need to get the full contact information of everybody visiting. However we want to set it up, now is the most opportune time to have a sign-in sheet. But the only thing that I would say is, yeah, I would have a sign-in sheet, but it was superficial.
Okay.
Right? Because the notepad that I had with me, was the information that I would reference. The sign-in sheet was frivolous. And more often than not, I would notice there was discrepancies between the sign-in sheet and mine after we have the script. Not
Got
surprised, right? Nikki, what were you gonna say?
I just want to jump in really quick on the sign-in sheet. I always have the sign-in sheet. I have a picture of the house at the top of the sign-in sheet. And then you always do 2 people, fictitious name, whoever they are. So that
Yes.
it's not like the first person, like, oh, they signed in. So it's an NLP thing. They signed in. I must have to sign in. And then I make sure to the right of that first or second person, loved the fountain, call me right away. Something on
Cute.
there that creates a sense of urgency. So the
Brilliant,
next people that are gonna-
Nikki.
the next people are like, I
Brilliant.
better call because this person wants it right out of the gate.
Uh-huh. Brilliant. I've never done that. I've never done that before. So this is the reason why we're mastermind, guys, right? This is brilliant. I love that, Nikki. I love it, love it, love it. So these are all kind of like the tips and tricks for, you know, how to do these open houses. Again, you're getting some great tips from different people and different approaches. You know, I'd say use whatever's best for you. Rob.
Yeah, I would say to promote the open house, make a Facebook event out of it. You know, invite, you know, all your friends, or at least some people live in the area.
Yep.
And
Next
then-
door.
Yeah, next door, that too.
Yeah. Post that on
Yeah.
next door.
Yeah, next door, Facebook, it up, whatever. And also, you know, I'll go Facebook Live,
Mhm.
do a video, just a quick little tour, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, just, like I said, make an event out of it.
Oh yeah. See, I like that. I like that. It's all about the setup because again, you can always be that agent that can just do open houses sporadically. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But just also consider that if you do it in your farm, that you're calling around anyway. You want that name recognition over and over and over again, right? See, and that's Nikki. I was actually going to highlight the way that Nikki presented this property, a simple picture, but just being like, picture this. And you're literally creating, it reminded me of my walks in Coronado, walking by some of these beautiful Victorian homes, and I would walk by, I'd stop and smell the roses, right? Just because, like, they're freaking gorgeous. And so as soon as like Nikki was having that type of imagery on her post, you're creating the allure around that. Back in my day, right, I would post little pictures about a cool feature, you know, post that and saying, hey, you know, chilling, relaxing, loving my view, you know, over the golf course here. One time before the open house started, I did a tour. I'll need to, when it posts back up on my memories, I'll have to repost it. This is back when I looked like I was 12 years old, but I was doing an open house on a $3.5 million property with gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous lagoon views and everything like that. I was just walking down the street, right? And I was highlighting the path, showing the views and everything like that. And people were asking me, right, during that actual session, they were asking me questions, but guess what? Anybody that was inquiring, I'd circle back around and then put that into my Facebook algorithm, commenting. Thank you so much for your support, right? Thank you for the heart. Thank you for the like, right? So can you see how even though we're talking about open houses in a segmented way today, there's still an opportunity to incorporate it into the farm structure that we've been talking about, right? Do that Facebook Live in that community page that you created for them, right? And you invited the neighbors to. You're you know, taking the information, you're being that neighborhood expert, okay? Everything that you're doing to position yourself with the neighbors. This is another thing. Never write off a neighbor as just a looky-loo. Even if they're saying, oh, I'm not in the market. No, I just live down the street. Oh, fantastic. You just swinging by because maybe you have some friends or family members interested? No, I was just curious. Okay, hey, fantastic. Well, you know, would you mind giving me some feedback? Like, I'd love to know like how this one compares to like your property, you know, in your own opinion. Could you just, you know, just between us girls, can you just share that information? You know, just between us, just share. Is that cool? Like, can you just let me know what you think as the neighbor, right? Well, guess what? Y'all coach me. If I have a good conversation to where this person's like, oh, well, yeah, I'm surprised that it's going for this much. Do you think it's going to sell for that? The conversation always goes in that direction. What do you think my opportunity is? Y'all coach me.
Seller, you got a seller.
How do you ask that question? What's the question that you ask to elicit curiosity?
Would it be helpful to, well, I could do would it be helpful to get a comparative market analysis to actually find out what your home is worth?
There you go. Because even better, if you're going to do this to the absolute max, I don't know many listing agents that would be willing to share the multiple offers with you, unless maybe it's a metro agent, not sure, but if it's your own listing, my favorite, I hated door knocking, I hated it, I hated it, I hated it. But the only time that I would be with the multiple offers in my hand, going around and just being like, hey, my name's Steven. We just sold a property down the street from you, not too far. I've got these multiple families that are desperate to move into your area. Are any of these offers enticing for you to consider selling? 3.2, 3.6, 3.5, 3.5, 3.5, right? And I'm walking up and down that freaking little street on Cardiff, and many people would be like, get the F off my porch. Can do, but you want to look at these? No, yeah, it's just like, you get those people, but more often than not, people are like, you're having these pieces of paper. Would you consider selling for any of these? They're like doing this in the whole number, right? They're like, what? What's that one, right? So pro tip, if you ever do plan on doing that in the near future, how you door knock with the multiple offers is you black out everything with the exception of the date, the price, the property address, okay? Block out the person who wrote the offer, block out the agent who wrote the offer, everything except for the date, price, and the address. So they can see they wrote this offer on this date for this amount on that property down the street from me, right? So what are y'all taking away from this?
A lot.
Start your open house mastery checklist, put it in Google Drive, and add to it every single time you do it. Always.
Ooh, I like that, Nikki. I like that, right? Make this a system. Make this a system. We haven't referenced him in a while, but many of y'all may or may not know him. Jeff Bentley was our 2020 Rookie of the Region. So his first year, he made over 260K in GCI, only doing open houses. Only doing open houses. He is full-time in the military. He now full-time lives in Sacramento and still is able to do about 5 or 6 transactions a year from that same database. Now, the Bentley open house model was just that. He would have the conversations. He didn't have the sign-in sheet, but he followed a similar-ish model to what I shared with y'all, right? He put his own little Bentley spin to it. But the thing about him is that he would do 3 to 4 every single week, weekdays and weekends, right? 3 to 4 every single week, like clockwork. And they were all on the same farm, And people just got to know Jeff Bentley. Guess what? Those turned into listings. For every 4 buyers that he would represent, he would have 1 seller. Not a bad model. So there are people out there. Most of the agents that I would coach beforehand would get the business from open houses and then get the listings from following up from the open house. Do you get that? So it's a fantastic model to work. And especially you guys, seriously, we only hire pretty people here at Metro. So, basically there's no reason for you to not be in front of people, right? There's no reason at all to not be in front of people, okay? If you feel comfortable. But this is something that if you have a larger property, double down, ask a lender, ask Eddie, see what resources he can provide, right? If he can be there with you, if it's, shut up, Paul. Look at the comments. Just like, so as you're going through, you have these people to work by your side. Again, I'm kind of torn when it comes down to working it with another agent. If that's how you feel more comfortable, fine, go for it. But just know that you're probably going to have to split those leads, and just word of caution, come up with an agreement before you do that. Please. Please. I don't want to be in the middle of that conversation. Well, we had this, but then this one popped and now they're saying changing this. Have it documented. Y'all can be the most lovely agents. Y'all are all of integrity. But whenever a commission comes to the table, that's when lines seem to blur and go gray. I don't know why. Eddie. You're muted, bud. I know you said an
How about
explicit.
now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Woo! So I did so many open houses with Jeff all during the week, and he would pick like random times, like 1 to 4. And I'm like, dude, what are we doing? Like, why are we going in the middle of the day? And there would be so many people that would stop by in the middle. This was not during like COVID or anything like that. This was way before. And people would just stop by randomly. And, you know, he has such a nonchalant, like, I don't give a about you being here attitude. Like, he's just like, hey, look around. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be here. And me and him would be sitting there literally drinking like Sauvignon Blanc all the whole time. We'd offer people a glass. Like, hey, this isn't being recorded on live, is it? Anyway,
Yes, it is.
You know, that twirly woo stuff. So anyways, we would just be chilling all the time, and people would like, just from his attitude, just from his demeanor, you know, just trust what he has to say. And he was just so chill about it. He wasn't like, I mean, there are regimented people out there that do it very, very differently, but I mean, he did it and very differently than like what, and everyone's got their own style, right?
Yeah.
It worked for him, man. People loved him, and they'll just pick up the phone and like they'll call him all the time and like follow up with him.
There's a certain element that, make no mistake, when I share this structure of the script, the reason that I ask you guys to shorthand it is because I want you to put your own spin to it. I don't know about you, but my personality can vary depending on my mood. I'm sure that y'all would judge me if you were not the same. If I'm not feeling it, I'm probably gonna not be like, come on, wanna see it? Right, it's like, so if I have a structure, regardless of how I'm feeling, it helps me be my highest and best version of myself because I can go on autopilot, right? There's a lot of freedom in following a schedule because following that schedule gives you the freedom in a regimented time. There's freedom in following a script because if you're just going around and you're asking some good questions, I had a great coaching call, I'm biased, right? But a good coaching call yesterday in which the person was just like, I asked them like 20 questions, but it wasn't going anywhere. I said, okay, but what kind of questions were you asking? I can ask you 20 questions too. Doesn't mean I'm making the conversation flow anywhere. But if you look back at your notes from the flow of what I just shared with you, it's a natural segue, building the rapport, getting to know that person, getting them to talk to you, all obviously having that same nonchalant approach. I'm going to show you who's boss at this open house. You ain't getting by me unless you're talking to me, right? You're going to shake my hand, okay? Or I'm going to be in your face and be like, hey, my name's Steven, what's yours? Welcome. Then take a step back. You want the guided tour? Because I also don't want to be threatening, but I want to show you that this is my open house. Got that? This is my territory. Here's why it's so important. When other neighbors come by, depending on how much you're protecting that property and you're running that interference, neighbors are able to see that you're controlling that and they would feel safe with you holding their property open. You're being interviewed. You're being interviewed constantly. So that's what I mean by having that comfort, leaning in, right? Hey, did you want the guided tour? Do you want to just take a look around for yourself? Perfect. Now, can you just promise me? Yes, Dave. Yes, Dave. Love it. Love it. Ooh, green for
I've been having
money.
like 20 of these sitting in my other closet for like, you know, because I bought these literally 3 weeks before COVID started, or you know, something like that.
Yeah. Well, now you can put them to use. Dust those off, right?
Yes.
Dust them off. So this is something that, you know, get your marketing out there, getting it set up together. And would it be helpful? So tomorrow we have a special guest, but for Thursday, would it be helpful if we did a role play on the open house, since we kind of got on that tangent today? Cool. Perfect. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate y'all. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Later, guys.